Yes, absolutely, we are here. So we also know the conversation you've just had with each other and the conversation you had the other day as we were prompting her to get on with it. So we understand she is still curious about a few things, and we do want to give our 3 cents into this to this conversation, as she would say. But of course, we don't have any real money to give you, but we would hope that the wisdom and information that we provide for you is the value or the equivalent, if not equaling, the 3 cents that we have just promised for you today.
Yes, thank you. Yes, your knowledge is worth way more than the 3 cents, anyways.
Well, we do
Okay,
want
I
to
have a
we do want to say, because we were eavesdropping, that the conversation about money did occur between both of you, and we understand that money really should not have got so corrupted. And part of the bigger corruption issues is money, but it's the ego that craves the money, the ego that is deluded to think that the money equals power and significance and influence. So it is nonsense, of course, but there is many people that believe and buy into that status, as you know, and you can be incredibly wealthy and still controlled by systems that don't serve you. And so it's never truly about the money that you are needing to accumulate. It is about freedom, freedom of inner peace, and knowing that you are protected and safe and not being poisoned with every possibility, every possible scenario. Uh, we are having more private conversations with you, which may confuse the people who are listening to us now also. So we just wanted to add more content and say that yes, we are we're not amused, but we are not disappointed either. But we can see very firmly and clearly how everything has unfolded to be so corrupt, and how it is truly incredible leap to be able to see all of the systems that are truly fraudulent. It is hard to take that step out of the comfort zone, because as soon as you do, you're starting to question the professionals that are trying to enforce their own agenda onto you through having other agendas placed onto them. It is a cycle, and there is extensions upon extensions of the corruption. So the doctors, the people that you may have to deal with, teachers, co-workers, society, anyone really. It's not their own personal corruption that they're trying to place onto you. They are following the systems which have many branches of many um, many corruption avenues. It is nearly impossible for one person alone to be able to be aware of all systems that are incredibly incredibly corrupt. And we just know that the word corruption does not even cover the extent of what's really going on. We do not want you to feel disempowered and overwhelmed. We do remind you from time to time about um, the systems when we force them into your lives, just to give you this reminder of what truly is occurring, and you would not one person would cope with knowing all of the corruption levels and all of the broken systems that would really truly overwhelm everyone. It is about being reminded of these smaller pieces, how everything just has to collapse, how things just cannot continue on, and the people who are questioning how can a simple reset change things, and what is going to take place with this new systems to make it better and brighter and more honest with integrity to help humanity. And we say very firmly, this is more challenging for people to understand than how did you get to this place, um, to even have to deal with how to do the resets. This is confusing people, taking people offline and distracting people because they're starting to think individually and with some smaller groups how the resets are going to unfold. And it is the biggest task that humanity could ever take on board. And it is literally just not possible for all these resets to occur, to be able to have new structures and foundational positive advancements and empowerment for humanity in general on this planet, with everyone still being so traumatized from being in this position and having so many other lifetimes that have triggered them because of how unjust and how challenging life is when you are trying to play within the rules, within the systems to try and get ahead. And when the system is literally impossible to beat at this point, and has been impossible to beat. And when you're trying to play the 3D game, as soon as you escape the 3D and see everything from a bigger perspective with spirituality, trust in yourself and faith that everything is purposeful to help you waken up. When you're still in that reality of 3D and living for 3D and around 3D and reacting to 3D, it is the most challenging experiences anyone could have, because it's not a fair game. You are playing a very dishonest game, and the game that you're playing with have high stakes. It is your health, it is your education, it is all your systems, the rules that you are following and obeying, your taxes, everything. And we know we've talked about this before, but this has been on the vehicle's mind of feeling like people have finally won out of 3D, and then they are knowing that there has to be these big resets. They're not aware of what the truth shift and what true new earth actually means. They believe that there is simply going to be resets and everything's just going to suddenly magically all be fine with new systems. Well, we're going to say to you, oh, that sounds fantastic in a fairy tale story. So tell us, how will you be able to help all of humanity who are still profoundly traumatized, profoundly believing that money equals happiness? How would you really go about this? What systems are you going to put into place to be able to remove all this trauma? All of this health. Oh, okay, yes, that's right, cute. You're gonna bring in some human-made med beds to solve everything. Oh, yeah, that's absolutely going to change everything. It's going to change people's personalities so much, because it would have to be so much. You would have to instantly walk in with all of your 3D drama and trauma, and then come out in a 5D perspective mindset. Does that sound like something that humans would really be able to do in an afternoon or a few minutes? I mean, really start thinking about the realities here. And the more that people understand about what true new earth means, what true shift into 5D means, you will understand that all the people that are trying to work very hard and diligently with all this resets and trying to understand and give good advice to how it's all going to truly unfold and how it's really going to work. You're wasting your energy. We say this with love, because you're still dealing with systems, and you're actually dealing with a very, very sick planet who is physically exhausted, and she's not able to have a little med bed or a day spa treatment. This is bigger than most people, as you are aware, understand and comprehend. But it is nice they're thinking positive. They're thinking that this is a new reset of excitement and change. They feel the change happening. So they're very, very, very excited about that with hope. And this is great because it is raising their vibrations. They've got the excitement of thinking they're going to have lots of financial resets, as well as be able to, finally beat the system and collapse all the corruption. But they haven't really been able to think the next few steps forward. And that is fine. That is fine. The fact that they're just merely happy with the hope of change is enough to help them. But when people start needing to think a little bit more critically about actually how there is so much there. We don't want to burst anyone's bubble of hope, of course, because we could say to you now, well, anything is possible. Focus using your imagination to and your manifestation to be able to create the world that you want, and focus on that more than trying to figure out how new systems are going to work to serve everyone, and not get you straight back into another systems that are going to end up being more corrupt than the ones before. So this is huge. This is so huge. And we want you to, for everyone to just sit and think about this for a bit, because we know so many listen to other people saying about the 5D just being a mindset, and the resets are happening soon. So really just honestly think about that. Great. So you're focused on just the money alone. Awesome. What about the healthcare? What about, oh, that's right. Yes. Your belief systems that med beds will come. That's great. What about your educational systems? What about your society systems? What about your trauma from everything from this lifetime, other lifetimes you've lived? Like, it doesn't just stop at financial, and it doesn't just stop at health. It doesn't even stop at any of your social constructs and situations. It's truly, once again, the big sort of elephant in the room, we would say, is the planet and how she is going with all of this. And we know that we haven't even scratched into your questions that you want us to discuss today. But this is where we have left off. This is where not only yourself, Erica, but also this vehicle. This is where they are wondering, how can we help humanity? How can we profoundly heal humanity? And is it going individually to each person and being able to do these quantum sessions and profoundly help them individually, and then we'll have to just do everyone individually? And is this the way? And we say no, it is not the way. That is thinking small individuals. And while one person can change the history and course of the world, because one person has done that many times, there have been many one individual people who have profoundly changed history, profoundly changed humanity with one person. So think about the power of one person. We want you to know that when you do heal one person who has struggled from an event or a situation, then that healing and that perspective of understanding a certain situation and living through it, healing themselves, that knowledge does go back to the collective. And so if you want to look at humanity as a one unit, with all of your consciousness and subconscious, just for this conversation, if you add all your conscious minds and all your subconscious minds together in a big room, and you started thinking you had to individually go to each essence and be able to heal them, you don't need to do that. Once it's healed, and we know you wanted to know how many people would it need to take to be able to heal them from, say, for example, the Atlantis lifetime and the Lemuria lifetime, and even your lifetime, where people have been traumatized by world wars, by terrorist, in quotation marks, terrorist attacks, those big events that have really impacted humanity. We say that it is not just one person that can be healed from that's going to help humanity's collectiveness. There does need to be more than a few. but you can, when everyone's doing their own inner work, you are tipping the scales for the collective. And so this is why we say it's important for you to do your own inner work, because if you're not, then you're draining the energy from the collective. So, and it's not like you're this big sponge and you're sucking out all the high vibrations of others. It's not like you're an energy vampire, but what you're doing is you're not healing yourself, and you're not putting in positive experiences of lessons learned into the collective. You're still in trauma, you're still dealing with your 3D stuff, and so you haven't graduated from those experiences. And so once you graduate and learn from and heal from, then you're putting that into the pot of the collective. And so some people don't feel like there is any rush for them to do their own inner work because everyone's fine. But when everyone's waiting for your part of your experience to heal and learn from, and then to provide that to the collective, while we don't want to put any pressure on individuals, your experiences are added into the totality of the collective, which is so important. And as we have said, one person's actions can be incredibly significant. And if you are the one person that needs to heal, there is really no excuses for anyone to resist doing their own inner work. And we will keep pushing and pushing and pushing you with love, lots and lots of love and lots of gifts for you to unpack and be triggered by, to be able to get over the pain and the issues of it, to be able to then be able to learn from the experience, accepting the experience and move on. So unfortunately, we cannot say 8 people need to be profoundly healed from the Lemuria experience for the collective to be able to be released from it. But we are saying the more people are able to heal, the more the collective is going to be stronger. And as we have said before about your group that you have, the more you are together, the stronger you are. The more you're growing together and having experiences together, the more stronger you are. And you are like the equivalent of a big great oak that is 1,000,000 years old and so strong, and there's no storm that could come and push it over. It is so strong, it is unbreakable and infallible, and it is tremendous. So we want to say about the collective, we want people to be able to be triggered into being able to be forced into their own growth. And so this is why we're playing around with the energies of the planet right now, and really pushing people to see their own past, the stuff that they have not been wanting to deal with. It's all coming out now in their faces on purpose, to be able to just, because everyone's so exhausted from these highs and lows and all these ascension symptoms, people are not, almost like too tired to fight them, too tired to keep on bringing the drama up about the challenges of being triggered. And so we are using this to our advantage, for your advantage, by being able to throw all of this other stuff that you need to process and grow from to everyone as much as we can now, because you're just too exhausted to play the drama games or to play the victim games or to really get stuck in the mud. We know that sounds like it is labeling you and judging you. It is simply not. It is just you're all too advanced now to really want to play with the mud and eat the worms. So it is very purposeful what everyone's going through, being purposely triggered for it. So we are saying you could give more people, go back into sessions and connect with them, to support them, to give them encouragement for their purpose. You know the people in history, and potentially there may not be people that you know in history who have changed the course of humanity. And going back, even though it's not really going back, but going to their time frame to talk to them, whether that's, you can connect, this vehicle can connect to people who are sleeping and we can provide a very lucid, very firm, rememberable dream that can help encourage them exactly what they need to give them the empowerment and to give them a vision to be able to either soften their approach or to be able to encourage them to continue on. This is people need to experience this for themselves, as you have suspected with the Nostradamus sessions and with Alice the other day. She needed to experience the 2 times that she experienced the body to be able to give her solidation, solid confirmation, and to give her solid, firm experiences that what she is doing in her work is valid. How she interpreted that and how she approached it afterwards is her free will, but it is these experiences that are giving them the motivation to continue. So it is very purposeful. But we understand you are wanting firmer confirmation of how do you heal the collective from all the trauma when you know the individuals themselves may not even be aware of the past lifetime traumas that are challenging them right now. And we say it is so sweet and cute of you to think that you could help humanity with just some hacks from quantum sessions to be able to bypass everything. You can still make huge differences, but the reality is everyone has their own special spiritual team that is nudging and forcing them to choose their right path. You can go back and tell many people who feel unloved and want to give up to continue on and to keep going. You can heal and offer all of humanity to release, and you have done this so many times. This vehicle has done this so many times with true intention to be able to love and heal all of humanity, not just who are living now, but all who have ever lived. And we can keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that because the intentions are pure. And those who want that and who are open to that, they will receive it. But it is bigger than just love. It is bigger. It is bigger. It is bigger because remembering they need to have those experiences because that is part of their life contract. And as this vehicle knows, it is not polite to be able to sabotage accidentally someone's life contract for them to not experience something. And while you will not get into the naughty seat and you will not get a smack bottom for your bad behavior, we know that your intentions are to purely love and help others. This is about us protecting each individual from their lessons. And so there has to be that growth. There has to. And you keep thinking you're in this duality of, oh, this looks so bad for humanity. Oh my goodness, how can we help? But the reality is, this is all good for humanity, and they are helping themselves. And you're at that sideline waiting for all the people who are still running their marathons, exhausted beyond their legs are jelly, and they can't even remember their names, and they're dribbling all over the place with sweat. And they're just so exhausted, you're wanting to run over and carry them through the finishing line because it is so painful to watch. But this is not something you would want to do in reality. They need to finish their race. They have trained for so long to get to even start that race. And for you to piggyback them across the finish line is not going to be something that they're going to thank you for.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. Very, very wonderful words, very wonderful advice and lessons there. Do we need to, would working in a certain pathway be better? Like working from the farthest point that like Atlantis or Lemuria and then working forward would be more helpful, or should we start now and work our way going back per se?
Well, yes, it's the big ball of wool that's in the big knot. Where do you start? In the middle, can you find an end if you're lucky, or do you just get the scissors and just start hacking it down? So we're saying Lemuria is not the original challenge for humanity, and there has been many other cultures and civilizations prior to that even that have had challenges. So and some of them are not even known to man. So it is not about, but then of course, just because you don't know of a situation doesn't mean it's not in your DNA, but in humanity's DNA. Remembering we're talking to 2 volunteers here who have never had other lifetimes on this planet. So we can't use your own experiences on this lifetime to even give examples. So but we want to remind you that when beings want to come to this planet for their experiences, they are wanting all of the experiences to have, it's all purposeful, is following their life contract. And so there is each cycle of a life, they get to have a pause and a healing and then come back to finish what they didn't complete. Not because someone's forcing them to do it, but because this is an opportunity for growth and expansion, which is like the equivalent of money, if you understand that. This is the most valuable thing, is experience. It's worth more than billions of dollars. And so every time you're starting to feel challenged with a really challenging situation that is triggering you and is making you have experiences, just think the harder it is, the more valuable it is. So if you want to be pleased with thinking, oh, this is $1 billion into my spiritual growth, own it. Do whatever you need to be able to make you cope through it and survive through it with positivity and neutrality, and make fun out of it, because we love humor as well. Because gosh, humanity is so depressing. When we're tapping into you guys, most of the time you're so depressed. It's so depressing to see you with this, and we're not judging, but it's, you do make, not you, but humanity does choose to have the most somber experiences rather than the most fun. And yeah, when we keep saying find your joy, it's because, for frick's sake, your joy is still there. You're allowed to have it. It is not something safe for a Sunday afternoon. Should be a must. And my goodness, you make it so much harder for yourselves when you choose to be adult and mature and reserved and boring, because it seems too safe. You want to be silly with it and have fun and dance and just be in joy, but it seems like that's not in trend right now, and we wish it was. So we keep putting that into your pop culture and into the words, and then we keep trying to see it, and we'll tell you, you'll see the word joy many times in the next few days, because that is us going with our hands on hips, tapping our foot, going where is your joy quota for the today? Because you seem to have sucked a lemon, because you're approaching life with a sour face. And we understand that everything does feel very overwhelming, absolutely, when you buy into the 3D nonsense, but you're more advanced than that. So there is really no excuse to keep approaching life like that. But of course, your experiences keep your lives interesting, but just for the sake of it, why not have some fun experiences for the novelty factor of it? Because we don't see that many people who are having more fun than stresses and worries and concerns. And while you've all been so traumatized by the 3D, we're wanting you to keep celebrating. Actually, we're wanting you to start celebrating. Having a bigger perspective, knowing that this is not as critical and as dire. We've got this. We totally know what's happening to the planet. We know we are so in control that it would freak out the controlled freaks, because we're in control. It's not really humanity that's in control. They're trying to do the best they can while they're doing their service for humanity and fulfilling their life experiences. But yes, we are very much in control without uh, being a handbrake to your free will, of course, because we want you to still feel like you can make choices. We would love it if it was for choices of joy and happiness and taking life less seriously, not because there is not serious things happening for this planet, because there is, but it's not yours. It's not your burden to carry. You're aware of it. You can accept it as what is happening to awaken humanity. Congratulations, you have your gold star of being awoken, and you already know the purpose of all of that. So it is not yours to worry about. It's not even yours to worry about for other people who don't know about it yet. That is not your concern. Do not drag them kicking and screaming over the finish line. They want to do it themselves. And so while you're already the advanced beings who already accept and know this, why not then start adding in joy and profound routines of self-love? And we're not talking about masturbation, we're talking about honoring your body, making sure you are feeding positivity into your body with mind, loving talk of yourself, and loving others, accepting others, whatever position and stage they are in their spiritual journey, and to be able to know that you are making wise choices for your health and body, knowing that exercise will never kill you, but unless it's extreme sports, and then we're sorry about it, but it probably was an exit point. So we want to keep reminding you that while you have the body, you must exercise the body. You must use your healthy choices, knowing that there is so much that is in foods that are not savory for foods, for your body. We say there's so much we want to just share. We feel like we have said so much and we feel like we're on a little bit of a rant, but we're wanting you to just stop feeling into the density of the planet and the problems of the planet, because they're not yours. But you've already outgrown this information. And so what you're wanting to look for information of now is, how can we help? How can we help without pushing people's free will and taking away their own experiences? And so this is really the question of the day, isn't it?
It's a big question.
Yeah. And so you can definitely make a big impact on humanity by being able to directly help the people who have been in your past with these sessions, to connect with them. Nostradamus, he's already doing his appropriate work. He did get the support and encouragement of the conversations you have had with him. He did learn that he wanted to have less of his plant medicines because he wanted to be able to retain more information from this experience he had with you last. And so he is starting to know his own limits. So he is still tweaking and playing around with his own medications that he is using. He will get to a point where he will not really be wanting to keep using the plant medicine when he has belief in himself that he can connect in to this connection with his own mind being crystal clear. So it is a learning curve for him as well. He has been using tools to be able to help him with this state, and he doesn't need tools, but he needs to have more belief and faith in himself. I mean, he will get there, and he does get there. But it is about seeking and searching and questioning other people in your history who you could help tremendously. But we also want to say you can do profound work also through another avenue with healing the collectives of the animals. We know that you were wanting to talk about the bovine family, well, the bovine species, to be able to help humanity indirectly while still honoring the bovine. species. So we will do this now if this is what you are up to now, and if this is what you are comfortable with us doing.
Yes, please. If we could go ahead and do that.
Yes. We want to, with love, remind people that the animals, the cows and the cattle, and the way that they are forced to reproduce, the way that they have their children, their babies taken away from them, the way that they are fed, their living conditions, and the way that they are killed and processed, is the most repugnant approach to animals. Yes, we understand that there are some nicer farmers that have humane and have passion and consideration for these animals, and others don't. They just see them as a product, how to get the biggest product, how to get the product that is more saleable, more valuable, and they do not truly want to acknowledge the reality of uh, fiddling around with their DNA and their growth and the hormones and the medicines that are put into the cattle to be able to give you fat, juicy steaks, is probably would make you instantly vegetarian. The whole process, the cycle of their lives, is so tragic and challenging, and yet they are used so much. You treat them, not you individually, but humanity as a whole treats them with such cruelty and such inhumane. And we know that that is a reference to not treating humans nicely. So we're wanting to find the most appropriate word for when you treat animals with such cruelty and disrespect. And we understand that people are saying, well, there's standards, there's industry standards. You know, we trust that the industry standards are all above board. And we say with bless the people who still think that standards are really have people's best interests or the animals' best interests. This is just another corrupt system. This is not got anything with ethical morality. Here it is another very corrupt system. And so we just want you to think for a minute about how much these poor animals are profoundly suffering emotionally and physically. And yet you use them. The majority of humans still drink their milk, give the milk products to their children, to help the children, their babies, grow up on. You don't use human milk for some reason for others. You don't farm that. Apparently, that's not appropriate. But you can do that for cattle that aren't really the same as humans by any stretch of the imagination. But you will still feed off the dairy industry. You all seem to have eaten one or two ice creams. You are very highly dependent on the dairy industry and in the meat, the eating of the meat, and then also using the body, the carcasses and the skins of the animals for your gelatin, for your leathers, all sorts. You are surrounded. You are surrounded by this this industry, and yet knowing that muscle has memory, muscle has memory, just like water has memory, muscles have memory, and the trauma and the heartbreak and the challenging life that cow had is going to be all there in a nice little parcel for you as you eat it. And so it is not removed, especially for the people who do not bless their food and send it gratitude. And we know that the cows and the cattle and all of the meat that you've ever eaten There is life contracts there, and it's all agreed upon. That cow did know the cow's life it was going to have as it signed up to enter this lifetime to have these experiences, these very, very, very challenging experiences. But it seems that humanity doesn't want to look at how you are treating. And even though people do know what is happening, there is, when was the last time you said something about it? When did you use your money to show that you are not going to support this industry? When did you use your time or your heart or your thoughts about it? And we understand because, most of you are also awoke now and you know that this is all contractual, and the animal chose to have this lifestyle, and you are you're not judging, and you are needing to eat too, and so you can justify it, but you are justifying all of the systems that are corrupt, and you are justifying all of the challenges that is put here for you to either stand up and express yourself and say there must be a better way, or you just accept the systems and say, well, that's just how it is. I'm just one person. How could possibly one person change the history and course of the world? And as we have said before, it's very easy to do it because it only needs one voice. You only need one drop of water to start a rain, to start a waterfall. It is so bigger. You just all feel that you are so disempowered and so insignificant, and it's just absolutely not true at all. You're all very powerful with your influences with your family and friends, but you still judge their confusion or their own belief systems as you not being valued and you not being important enough to have your own freedom of speech. So it's just easier to keep quiet. It's just easier to keep quiet over the dairy industry because it just feels like it's you against everything else. But we want you to now, with us, be able to honor all of the animals who have come here, knowing exactly what they were going to experience when they signed up for these life contracts. To be able to have this, we honor them so profoundly, and we are so grateful for all their services to humanity because they have kept us, they have nourished us, they have fed us, they have suffered for us to be able to survive. And we are profoundly apologetic for us to not be so grateful, for us to not see and consider what their experiences would be. And we honor and thank them for all that they have done for humanity. And we appreciate them coming to help us. And we offer them our love, our unconditional love, and our condolences for the fact that we have not been able to consider the collective before in this way. And we have been so busy with our own lives and our own dramas that we have not considered all that we have been involved with and how much our choices for buying food and dairy have impacted the bovine collective. And we understand that it is a cycle, and we understand that these things are necessary to some degree, but it is not each individual person's responsibility to feel the power and the weight of this corrupt system. This is one of many. We are only merely pointing out to you today that there are many beings, not just human, that are here to help humanity. And they have done such great sacrifices to do such and to be here to help. And so we are honoring and acknowledging just one of the many animals that come here to help humanity, because it is an honor and offer to be able, an honor and a privilege to be offered this role to help humanity, to be able to live these lives out for all these challenging lessons. And it is not bad to have hard lives. It is not, because it is growth and it is expansion. And you want to experience these things, as weird as it sounds, to really profoundly experience it is still very valuable for the soul's growth, even a very traumatic one. And we also want to remind you, you've heard this before. You've heard us talking about this before, but not with the cows. You have heard us talking about this with the children who have been part of the crimes against humanity. They also knew what they were going to be in for. They also knew that their life contracts were going to be very challenging for the same reasons, for the experiences, to also to be able to help awaken humanity. While the cows have been here to nurture us and to be able to feed us, and of course, your spiritual teams have all been aware of how the dairy industry has manipulated with their food technology all sorts of things in the meat and in the milk. And we're very much aware of this. And so we have been upgrading your bodies to be more and more unaffected by it, which is confusing for the people who are wanting to control and manipulate you, because they were wondering why they're not seeing the results that they wanted to. So there is a lot of things that are placed in your ordinary day food to not really empower you. This is no surprise, but we're wanting to confirm that the dairy industry is one heavy targeted one, where there is, in quotation marks, added nutrients, which are not your friends. But we know that. And so we have been protecting you. And the people who are saying, this is the reason why I am lactose intolerant and can't process dairy, we will say no, there is other emotional reasons why you cannot accept the milk from another animal, and why you are craving to have the milk from the love of your natural biological mother. And so there is a lot there. There is a lot there. Your bodies are so unique and they tell you so much, but are you listening? Are you paying attention? Or do you just think that you have a funny tummy when it comes to dairy? No, there is much more in that. So we, as we said, we have so much to say to you, but we understand that there is a heavy feeling now about realizing that you have not profoundly really thought about the dairy industry, because it does lower your vibration. It does, absolutely, because it's just so hard and sad. You would hate for your children to be removed from you as you just give birth to them, to then be able to be chopped up and served on people's plates, and for you to still be forced to lactate to be able to feed children that were not your own. And you must think, well, animals don't have the same connection to their children. And we say that is not true at all. Animals are very herd based. Most animals that you eat are very herd based. They have their natural tribes. They are very docile and beautiful and loving, so loving. And so you can stop assuming and stop ignoring this. And so it's not a surprise for you to hear that on the new earth there will be no consuming of animals. It is not necessary. There will be some berries, there will be other food sources, but you do not need to eat. A lot of you are actually emotionally eating. It's comfort. You are still trying to give yourself love, so you eat it instead of provide it for you emotionally. Gosh, we keep saying there's so much that we want to say, and we just keep talking. So, sorry, Erica, we know that we have completely gone off target from your question. So we will focus for you, because we know you want to have more clarification.
You've actually answered all of the questions that me and Joe have talked about to discuss with you. You've helped us tremendously with guidance in these lessons. At this point, I would ask, is there any other messages that you would love to tell us a little bit more about before we go?
We want to give reassurance to the people who love eating their meat and love having their ice creams and their dairy. That's a great approach. Loving, because you are honoring the service of the animal. The animal wanted to come here to be able to provide. And what's between them naturally wanting to come here and live versus you consuming their products while they've had to sacrifice their lives, they see that you are valuable and worth it. And it was, it was so worthy of their experience to be able to provide for you. And so honor this cycle. If you are to eat meat, honor the cycle and give gratitude to the cycle. You would do that to your own natural mother, and be gratitude and grateful for the nurturing and giving of life and substance and nutrition. And unfortunately, there is a third middle party in here, which is manipulating the food source. But as we said, we're aware of this, and so we are protecting you from the most of it. But as you know, the older you become, the more susceptible and exposed you are to all sorts of nonsense. And we know this, and this is why we constantly keep upgrading you. And there is nothing to be afraid of or worry about when you bless your food and when you have high integrity and when you cook with love and honor all of the products that you are consuming, because this is the best way for you to manifest health and to manifest getting all of those nutrients. And so do not feel sad, do not feel bad. Forgive yourself, for it is something you have always naturally taken for granted, being able to buy and consume meat without really wanting to think about the process of it. Your need has been greater than stopping and thinking about the cycle and the systems there. And that is okay. That is okay. But we were wanting to bring this attention to you today for you to stop and think about what you are doing, because we know there's a lot of people who are naturally doing things naturally out of routine. And we are wanting you to stop and think about all of your routines and see if they really serve you. See if you're truly grateful for each individual thing that you are surrounding your life with. Because once you can be grateful, you do feel the joy, and you do feel so lucky and so privileged. And so instead of focusing on the lack of what you don't have, and that will lower your vibrations, everything that you have, everything, every smallest thing that you have, we want you to just start celebrating and feel grateful, profoundly grateful, and be in great gratitude for everything. And just have this as the start of your new routine, your new norm, because this is going to uplift you. This is going to make you feel so special. This is going to make you feel really loved and lucky. Do not focus on the lack, as we said, because there is no real lack apart from your expectations. And when you can't be grateful for what you do have, you're never going to be grateful for the things that you want and you think that's going to fulfill you. You must have profound love of self to be able to feel fulfilled. And if you are not in love with yourself, there is not enough gadgets in the world and not enough distractions in the world to complete you. Only you can complete you. You are the key to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming in to help us with these questions. I'm sure they've definitely sit back and think and figure out some more questions that we will sure come back to you with.
Yeah, absolutely. Have fun with that, ladies, because we know that you will take this homework seriously, thinking about and pondering whom would be the best people to be able to tap into and give inspiration and confirmation of the divine. So this is your homework.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you.